even on the day, a lot of questions were floating that why was it taking for so long time for the Delhi police and the investigators to conclude that this was a terror blast. The reason was because they were mapping the footage. They wanted to ensure that there were no other person who was in hiding, and they did not want to give out that alert. So now, when they have mapped that CCTV, one thing that we are learning that probably he was absolutely alone. Reason so that when that Naugam cleric was arrested on the 27th of November, followed by his another aide Muzammil's arrest from Al-Fallah on the 30th of November, this man who used to actually use 5 phones, that's what interrogators are telling us, that 5 phones used to be used by Umarun Nabi, he went completely off. He was digitally cut off with no trace that could link back to him or his locations. That is the reason for 10 long days, we are being told, he managed to remain under the radar, managed to remain underground, I beg your pardon, and abscond for the longest of period. So he is a mind that needs to be investigated, that the investigators will also be studying. But what the investigators have shared with us, that he is the one who was the most radicalized of the module. He was the one who was the bridge between all the doctors, and clearly that shows up in the end of it, that it was he who managed to escape the clutches of the police officials and actually managed to detonate that I-20 car, leading to the death of what is now being confirmed to 12 innocent lives.
Oh yes, absolutely, Shreya, and we continue to tell our viewers how the investigation now proceeds. We have to slip into a very short commercial break. We'll be back on the other side with the very latest. Do stay tuned. Coming in, another CCTV clincher here on India Today, where it was caught on camera of how Dr. Umar was wrecking Connaught Place. There you see his car, the I-20 used in the Red Fort blast, was also seen wrecking Connaught Place. The bomber Umar in the terror car, who was caught on camera, he was seen driving this car packed with explosives in Connaught Place, that is the heart of Delhi. Umar was seen driving this car, that is the I-20, right on your screens in the middle of the road. And remember, the time was about 10:05 a.m. in the morning. Peak time, CP is crowded, and this, where he's driving the car, is Connaught Place Outer Circle. Parliament House is just 3 kilometers from Connaught Place. These high-profile targets that they were looking for, such that the impact would be jolting. Let me cut across to Shreya, who continues to stay with us on the broadcast. Shreya, can one also deduce that Connaught Place was probably one of the options that they may have been mulling to carry out some sort of an attack?
Surisha, could be not, because one thing is for sure, that the initial plan was about serial blasts to be carried out across multiple locations. The reason we see that Connaught Place, Mayur Vihar, all these locations that have been picked up in the CCTV become crucial, because these are hotspots where people usually come. Mayur Vihar was a residential area, but CCTV of this Connaught Place, remember, this is the outer circle radial road of the Connaught Place, where that car has been spotted. Around 10 number road is where this is seen go past, and but obvious, because that's the route he took. And then he finally first came to this Faiz-e-Ilahi Masjid, which is located at the Turkman gate near the Ramlila Maidan. He was unfazed, and from here he goes to the parking lot of Red Fort, stays there for 3 hours, then detonates that I-20 car at 6:50 p.m. So all the CCTV trails of Umarun Nabi caught only on India Today, and we are breaking that Connaught Place CCTV right now, where we can see him move at the outer circle radial of the Connaught Place circle.
Again, horrifying to imagine what could have happened and what the consequences could have been if something unforeseen had probably been, called out by these terrorists. It was 10 o'clock in the morning, peak time, Shreya, when people coming to offices in Connaught Place, shops opening, very crowded, and there he is, right at the outer circle, driving that car. This car that is full of explosives, driving through the outer circle of Connaught Place. caught on CCTV. But fact also being that while the searches were on, while the raids were underway, to narrow these details down, to be able to check this car, all of that was in process, but misses that were also happening.
Well, absolutely, Swesha. And these CCTV images probably also highlight the kind of scare situation that the national capital evaded. Because serial blasts that could have taken place, these could have been all possible locations this man had recce'd. Because what the CCTV suggests that he was also seen somewhere in Firozpur, Zirka. He spent overnight there and then he had travelled to the national capital via that Badarpur border route. So imagine the amount of fact that this man was unfazed as well. Yes, the attack was planned after the panic button was pressed that he would also get caught. But even at the face of that, if we see that CCTV, especially from where I am right now, at the Stockman Gate Masjid from where that CCTV we had accessed, and if we can show that CCTV again, just look at his gait. He's unfazed, he's not panicking. This is a man who knows that there's a search operation for him, that he's absconding. He's moving through the national capital with an explosive-laden car. He comes over here, then he goes and he detonates that I-20 car. So clearly, this is something which is shocking, but right now that CCTV that we can see is of the Connaught Place outer circle from where he had gone past, and possibly we never know that if Connaught Place was also a part of the plan, a part of the larger plan of the series of blasts that has been evaded, largely thanks to the Jammu and Kashmir police alertness to catch hold of this entire module.
Oh yes, absolutely, Shreya. And those details now coming to light, especially the CCTV footage and a lot of it that helps piece together what was happening and what the larger plan really was. The Doctors of Terror plot that is unraveling bit by bit as more and more information is emerging. The probe that has now taken a new turn as agencies are now focusing on how Dr. Shaheen Shahid, who had once been a very integral part of the college, was also hugely responsible for radicalizing more people. In the meanwhile, take a closer look at the CCTV footage. And while this seems like a regular car passing on through the outer circle of Connaught Place, imagine what could have been. Probably the fate of the people, the fate of the nearby cars, could have been nothing short of what happened at the Red Fort if the bombers were planning something like this in CP. This I-20 car that you see right on your screens that is being driven by Dr. Umar, the bomber, is laden with explosives. And this car openly moving around in the outer circle of the heart of Delhi, Connaught Place, at 10:05 a.m., where CP has a lot of people in that area. It is a buzzing area at that time. A lot of people who are going to their offices, shops are opening, commuters are passing by through that entire stretch. This I-20 that was moving in the outer circle, and whether Dr. Umar, the bomber, was planning this as one of the high-profile targets, because that is what they were thinking of. They wanted the impact to be far known. And that is why they were looking for key locations in the national capital such that the tremors would be wider than one would think of. And that is the I-20 on your screens, this CCTV footage that reveals that 10:05 a.m., Dr. Umar, the bomber, was driving this I-20 through this area. Let me cut across to Arvind Ojha joining us on the broadcast with further details. Arvind, आपसे जानना चाहेंगे कि क्या सीपी भी एक पॉसिबल टारगेट था, एक पॉसिबल लोकेशन था जो कि इन टेररिस्ट के लिए उनके प्लान में था?
देखिए, बिल्कुल सबसे पहले हम आपको ये बता देते हैं कि दिल्ली का जो दिल कहा जाता है कनॉट प्लेस, वहां पर जो ये कार I-20 कार, वो उसकी मूवमेंट भी ट्रैक हुई थी। सबसे पहले इंडिया टुडे ने बताया था कि कनॉट प्लेस में भी आतंकी जो उमर मोहम्मद है उसने वो वहां से गुजरा था। लेकिन ये पहली बार है जब इंडिया टुडे ये दिखा रहा है सीसीटीवी फुटेज, जिसमें साफ साफ दिखाई दे रहा है कि जो उमर मोहम्मद है वो कनॉट प्लेस में काफी जो कार है वो स्पीड है, क्योंकि अगर आप आसपास के कार को देखेंगे तो वो काफी धीमी रफ्तार से चल रही है, लेकिन ऐसा लगता है कि उमर मोहम्मद किसी से बचने की कोशिश कर रहा था। इस वजह से जो कार है वो तेज रफ्तार से भगाने की कोशिश कर रहा है, और इस दौरान इसमें काफी एक्सप्लोसिव भी था। इंपॉर्टेंट बात यह है कि कनॉट प्लेस से पार्लियामेंट 3 किलोमीटर दूर है, और जाने में वहां पर 9 मिनट लगते हैं, और वहां पर ये 2:05 पर 10 नवंबर को कनॉट प्लेस से ये गुजरा अपनी I-20 कार से। और इंपॉर्टेंट बात है, अगर आप सीसीटीवी देखें तो रफ्तार काफी तेज है। यहां से वो फिर सीधा अरुणा आसफ अली मार्ग मस्जिद पर पहुंचता है, और मस्जिद में 10 मिनट से ज्यादा वक्त तक रुकता है। वहां का भी सीसीटीवी फुटेज इंडिया टुडे ने एक्सेस किया है, और उसके बाद फिर ये पहुंचता है रेड फोर्ट के पार्किंग में, और उसके बाद फिर देर शाम वो बॉम्ब ब्लास्ट करता है। उमर मोहम्मद दिल्ली में कहां कहां रुका, कहीं वो किसी से मिला भी था क्या, कहीं रुका भी था क्या, ये जानने की कोशिश कर रही है दिल्ली पुलिस। और इस वजह से सीसीटीवी का पूरा जो रूट है उसकी मैपिंग की है दिल्ली पुलिस ने, जिससे कई जानकारियां दिल्ली पुलिस को लगी हैं। लेकिन ये कनॉट प्लेस के आउटर सर्किल से गुजरा था 2:05 पर। ये पहली बार इंडिया टुडे अपने व्यूअर्स को दिखा रहा है।
जी बिल्कुल, और जैसे आपने कहा कि अब दिल्ली पुलिस ये मैपिंग कर रही है ताकि वो जाने कि ये I-20 कार कहाँ कहाँ से गुजरी थी, पर इसके अलावा और क्या लीड्स मिले हैं अरविंद? और इसके बाद जब बॉम्बर डॉक्टर उमर गाड़ी आगे लेकर गए, तो क्या और भी इन्होंने किसी से कांटेक्ट किया था, कुछ बात हुई थी, क्या वो कम्युनिकेशन भी ट्रेस किया जा रहा है?
ट्रेस किया जा रहा है। और देखिए, हमें जो जानकारी मिली है हमें सोर्सेस से, कि ये दिल्ली के और भी कई इलाकों में गया है। कई ऐसे चौंकाने वाले इलाके हैं जहां पर गया है, और जो हमें जानकारी मिली है कि ये एक जगह पर 15 मिनट रुका भी है। उस लोकेशन का पता दिल्ली पुलिस लगा रही है, क्योंकि सबसे इंपॉर्टेंट बात ये है कि 8:02 पर दिल्ली के बदरपुर बॉर्डर से ये एंट्री करता है टोल से। उसके बाद साउथ ईस्ट दिल्ली के कई इलाके में घूमता है, मयूर विहार जाता है, कनॉट प्लेस जाता है जिसका सीसीटीवी फुटेज हम दिखा रहे हैं। वो अरुणा आसफ अली जो ओल्ड दिल्ली है वहां जाता है, एक मॉस्क में जाता है, वहां पर 10 मिनट तक रुकता है, वहां का सीसीटीवी इंडिया टुडे ने एक्सेस किया है। उसके बाद रेड फोर्ट की तरफ ये जाता है। तो कई जगह पर मल्टीपल लोकेशन पर गया है, लेकिन जो सबसे इंपॉर्टेंट बात है कि हर जगह पर अकेला खुद उमर मोहम्मद दिखाई दे रहा है। लेकिन क्या ये दिल्ली में किसी से भी मिला था, किसी के पास रुका था, ये जानने की जो कोशिश है वो अब दिल्ली पुलिस कर रही है। और इस वजह से जो पूरा रूट है उस पूरे रूट की मैपिंग की जा रही है। एक बात तो तय है कि जो रेड फोर्ट है उसकी या तो उमर मोहम्मद ने या उसके एसोसिएट ने रेकी की थी, और ये बात भी सामने आई है। जो मुजम्मिल है, जो एसोसिएट है, करीबी था उमर मोहम्मद का, जो अरेस्ट हुआ है, जम्मू कश्मीर पुलिस ने उसे अरेस्ट किया है, वो लाल किले की रेकी कर चुका था, क्योंकि जनवरी में उसकी लोकेशन रेड फोर्ट के आसपास दिखी थी। दरअसल जब मुजम्मिल अरेस्ट हुआ उसका डंप डेटा दिल्ली पुलिस ने निकाला, जम्मू कश्मीर ने भी पुलिस ने भी निकाला, तो उसकी जो लोकेशन थी वो रेड फोर्ट के आसपास ट्रैक की गई थी। इस वजह से रेड फोर्ट के आसपास का जो इलाका है, जो पूरा रूट है, उमर मोहम्मद को भी मालूम था, कहाँ पार्किंग है वो भी मालूम था, मस्जिद का है वो भी मालूम था। उसके बाद वो जाके गाड़ी पार्किंग करता है, और उसके बाद फिर जोरदार धमाका होता है।
जी अरविंद बने रहिए हमारे साथ, श्रेया भी हमारे साथ ब्रॉडकास्ट पे है। श्रेया, for somebody driving through these very important locations in the national capital, a sense of fear could trickle in of whether they could be stopped at some barricade, or checking could have happened. And areas like Connaught Place, especially central Delhi, where it does happen, chance checkings do happen. This man, and in the way that the car is passing, really seemed like he was just driving about, probably not scared of he could get caught. And since he had mapped all these locations, he was exactly going from one to the other.
Bigger question, Swesha, that how did our entire Delhi police apparatus fail in tracing a explosive-laden car that was being driven from the poshest of areas and probably the most sensitive zones of the national capital, including the Connaught Place region. That is something that the Delhi police will have to have a very solid answer about. But one thing is for sure, that Umar-un-Nabi was unfazed. Yes, the plan was done in a panic-stricken condition, knowing that he would eventually be caught. But a man was roaming around the national capital, stepping out of his car, unfazed, recorded on CCTV camera when a search operation to actually nab him was going on just in the border of the national capital in Faridabad. It itself proves the kind of surety that he had planned in carrying out this particular attack. Yes, the attack was probably done after his members were arrested. The initial plan was foiled of a series of blasts. But irrespective of that, this man is completely unfazed, all captured on the CCTV camera, especially that one that we accessed from this location at Turkman Gate, because this is the only CCTV as of now that has come where we see him walking on the road. He parked his car somewhere behind, and then he's come walking to this particular masjid, and that gate that he has, no kind of fear on his face. Clearly he knew that he was determined to what he wanted to do, and that's the reason he had come to this masjid after crossing from that Connaught Place outer circle, offering his prayers, going to the Red Fort, and then detonating that I-20 car.
Oh yes, absolutely, Shreya. And clearly the police, the agency is piecing all this information together to get to the larger question of whether he got in touch with anyone, whether he stopped the car and met a person, whether that could also be footage that would emerge in the time to come, of calls he was making, of communication that may have been happening. Of course, they were using encrypted apps, because of which, dumping down information from mobile towers may not be helping too much at this point. But the fear that was there, that his aides were getting caught, and he knew that he wanted to do something about it. Shreya.
Well, that's absolutely the case, Sivesha. And, we're getting these constant updates from the Delhi police, from the investigators about the interrogation that's also simultaneously under its way. But as we talk about the CCTV, Sivesha, these are all important piece of evidence, because why the Delhi police was mapping his car, because remember, even on the day, a lot of questions were floating that why was it taking for so long time for the Delhi police and the investigators to conclude that this was a terror blast. The reason was because they were mapping the footage. They wanted to ensure that there were no other person who was in hiding, and they did not want to give out that alert. So now, when they have mapped that CCTV, one thing that we are learning, that probably he was absolutely alone. Reason so that when that Naugam cleric was arrested on the 27th of November, followed by his another aide Muzammil's arrest from Al-Fallah on the 30th of November, this man who used to actually use 5 phones, that's what interrogators are telling us, that 5 phones used to be used by Umar-un-Nabi, he went completely off. He was digitally cut off with no trace that could link back to him or his locations. That is the reason for 10 long days, we are being told, he managed to remain under the radar, managed to remain underground, I beg your pardon, and abscond for the longest of period. So he is a mind that needs to be investigated, that the investigators will also be studying. But what the investigators have shared with us, that he is the one who was the most radicalized of the module. He was the one who was the bridge between all the doctors, and clearly that shows up in the...
Very good morning once again, and thank you for staying tuned to India Today. I'm Suesha Sawant as we continue to get you more breaking news coming in, with the investigation intensifying in the Delhi blast. Delhi police is now hunting for a third car as part of the terror module. Now this car is a Brezza that is still missing. Delhi police is searching for the third car, which is a Brezza, and that search is underway. An explosion that had occurred in a car, one of Umar's cars, that was missing, and the search is on for the one that was found in Faridabad. Now the search is on for the third car. There was a plot to detonate a car bomb There was a module, but the module was exposed before it could be carried out. Ultimately, Umar succeeded in carrying out the blast. So there was not one, not two, but 3 cars that are now in the radar. I-20, of course, the original car, the visual of which is on the right of your screens, the one that exploded in the blast, and the one on your left, the red EcoSport, where Dr. Umar had given a fake address to have the car register in his name, and he gave the address of a house in northeast Delhi. But that car that has also been taken into custody, it is now in the possession of the police because it had explosives, and this was being used to transport explosives. However, as the investigation now moves a step further, there is a third picture, I beg your pardon, a third angle that is being looked into in terms of the number of cars being used. This is a Brezza that was also used by the terrorists. Let me cut across to Shreya Chatterjee joining us on the phone line with details on this third car, which is allegedly a Brezza that the police is now looking for. Shreya.
Well, yes, this is another car which is linked to Umarun Nabi, the terrorist that blew up the I-20 car. 2 cars have already been accounted for. One was which was used in the blast. The second was the EcoSport that was found parked in that Faridabad farmhouse. So this is a Maruti Brezza that the hunt is right now on for. This information was there about a Maruti Brezza car, and what we do know that the Delhi police along with the Haryana and UP police are on alert mode.
That car could also be parked somewhere in Faridabad or was moving around there. CCTV footage that is being examined. Do give us details of how the police is now trying to search for this third car.
Well, absolutely. And you know, this third car, why it's important? Because, you know, Shivesha, these are all linked to the terror suspects, and this becomes object of suspicion right now, like the red EcoSport car, because there are information that we have that these cars were used for accumulating and stockpiling the ammonium nitrate that were recovered by the police, and also the fear that probably there was a plan to use multiple cars to devise into IEDs and carry out serial blasts, is why these cars become extremely crucial and object of suspicion. Third, what if there are other members of the module who are still on the run, who probably could have been seen in these cars, is why these cars need to be identified at the earliest. Fortunately, 2 have been accounted for, but 1 Brezza is right now still being searched for, and 3 state polices are on alert mode looking for that car. 1, the Delhi police, along with them, the UP and the Haryana police are also on constant mode looking for those cars, is what we're being told.
Shreya, have we been able to get more details on that car in terms of what color it was, what the number plate was, where all that car had moved around? And again, like Dr. Umar had used a fake address to have the red car register in his name. Any more details with regards to this particular Brezza?
Well, you know, some information, Suresha, regarding this car is yet to trickle down, but we've at least been confirmed by the police that this is a Maruti Brezza car. The color of it obviously must be something that we will get some information shortly, but sometimes information are also hold in delay when an operation is under its way. But probably the other concern about these cars are, remember, you have workshops. I mean, if you really want the car to be going heightened, they can change the color of it, they can change the number plate of it. So it becomes an extremely extensive job to trace down that car. Faridabad police yesterday did a quick, amazing job in tracing it back to the farmhouse of Umarun Nabi's friend. They detained 1 person also yesterday when that car was traced down. And this was the Khandavali village where the car stood parked for the entire night before that entire sanitization operation was undertaken. And now we are already in a look for another car, a Maruti Brezza, also linked to the suspect. So clearly, it is interesting that we will see how the things will pan out shortly, and we will get some more information. But as of now, a manhunt for a Brezza car is under its way.
Exactly the point, Shreya, that Faridabad quite seems the place where these terrorists had spread their tentacles, had kind of marked these places where they knew that their respective cars would be safe. The I-20 that was parked at Al Falah University for 11 days, the red EcoSport again that was seized at a farmhouse in Faridabad, and more locations that are on the hunt as far as the cops are concerned of where all these terrorists had made friends or accomplices or those who were with them as part of this plan and were helping them store explosives, keep these cars, or even other logistics.
Well, is something that is being looked at, Suresha. The reason we say that we have confirmation from the investigators that these cars were in fact used to trace back the ammonium nitrates that were picked up from the local fertilizer shops. Now, shops in Uttar Pradesh, shops in New, nearby vicinity of Firozpur, Zirka, etc. were the ones that were tapped on. These were fertilizer shops where NKP fertilizers were picked up from. Then it was actually devised into an ANFO, which is an ammonium nitrate fuel oil. So clearly, one thing for sure, that this is a whole operation that is still under its way, as the Delhi police, the Haryana police, the UP police, all are working together to ensure that they do not leave any stone unturned in actually fitting the missing pieces of the puzzle, like this Maruti Brezza car. This is something that we will see also will probably soon be found, like the red EcoSport car was found yesterday.
But shocking to even imagine, Shreya, how these cars were going unnoticed, because it was not one. The second one that came into the picture, the third one that is now come into the picture, probably more that could be that are also in the radar of suspect, how these cars were being acquired or bought or registered or coming into the possession of these terrorists, how they were managing the paperwork. These cars, at least the two that have come to light so far, were laden with explosives. How is it that they were missing the eye of the investigators time and again?
Well, Suresha, while we talk about these cars, once again for our viewers who are right now joining in, that these cars were used for transporting ammonium nitrate. These cars were used for wrecking. Three of the reasons why these cars are being looked at, and how are the Delhi police also identifying these cars. During the background verification of Umarun Nabi, the cars are coming into the light. One car, which is the EcoSport car, has been found registered in his name is why it was traced back. Some we believe that in the intermediary period were also tracked with the CCTV footages, and that's the reason these are the cars that are right now at the lookout as we are being.
All right, Shreya, getting details there of a third car that is now being traced by the police. Shreya, quickly to understand once again before we let you go, that yesterday 5 teams had been deployed by the Delhi police across UP, Haryana and Delhi, like you had told us, to ideally go and find these cars. So in terms of the deployment, do you have more details?
Well, yes, 5 teams of the UP police, the Haryana police and the Delhi police, because right now what we see, Suresha, is an interstate police coordination. These people were largely stationed in Faridabad, but they were moving in several vicinities to acquire the ammonium nitrate that was required, because let's just break down that ammonium nitrate cannot be sold in loose amount in this huge amount. Ideally, if you want to buy in a lesser quantity, anything below 5 kgs, you would need a license that you're a farmer, and that's the reason you need the fertilizers, etc. So clearly there was a middleman who was helping them, but to accumulate 2,900 kilos of ammonium nitrate is a big task, and clearly teams were divided and they were doing it for quite some time, and the fact that they managed to do it discreetly, that is something which is very shocking on the part of the investigators, is why we see that these amount of teams are now being found to also track down the source of these ammonium nitrate, because locally, if so easily we see explosive materials being made available, that becomes a huge concern. So even the ones who help them procure this ammonium nitrate, they need to be brought to task, is why we see those multiple teams being formed, to trace the cars, to trace any members missing in the module, and also to trace back the ones who sold this car. And you know, before I go on anything else, Suesha, I want to establish this location, because for every regular Delhiite, this Connaught Place is something that they pass from. This is the heart of the national capital, and at this very stretch, a short while ago, we were showing that CCTV footage. That same CCTV footage of Umarun Nabi was tracked from this very location of the outer circle of the Connaught Place. Imagine that man driving his explosive laden car from a location like Connaught Place. That is a huge question on the security lapse on the part of our Delhi police as well, because if these are the locations where a man can easily move around with a security, breaching security with an explosive laden car, puts a lot of lives on risk. We still don't know that whether CP was actually part of the main plan, but we do know that the main plan was to carry out multiple serial blasts, and the fact that he was seen from Connaught Place, maybe this was also a part of that initial plan by the terror module.
Oh yes, absolutely horrifying to imagine what could have happened and what could have possibly gone wrong, to the extent to which it could have gone wrong. Shreya, do stay on. More breaking news coming in, as we are now learning. Yes, like I said, we are now learning that the death toll has gone up to 13 in the Delhi blast. Yesterday, we showed you those pictures. Prime Minister Narendra Modi had also met with the injured, with the survivors of the Delhi blast at the LNJP hospital. Some who were recovering well, but some who were also in a critical condition. And in the latest, the confirmed number of casualties are now 13. 13 people who lost their lives in the Delhi blast. I'd also like to bring in my colleague Shreya, who continues to stay with us on the broadcast. But before that, more details that are trickling in, and we'll all take this to Shreya, as another CCTV footage that has come to light on India Today. On camera, where it was seen how Dr. Umar was wrecking Connaught Place. We were just talking about that. This was the outer circle of Connaught Place. The bomber, Umar, who was in that I-20 that is laden with explosives. He was seen driving that car packed with explosives in the outer circle of Connaught Place, which is the heart of Delhi. He was seen driving this I-20, and that too in the middle of the road at 10:05 a.m. on the Connaught Place outer circle. Remember, Parliament House is just 3 kilometers from Connaught Place. I want to go back to Shreya on both these things that we just told our viewers. Unfortunate, the death toll that has further mounted to 13 now, 13 lives lost in the Delhi blast. And of course, how these terrorists were looking for other high-profile targets. Prominent locations in the national capital, such that the impact would be much stronger. And a very high possibility, Shreya, like we've been discussing, that CP could have been one of them, could not have been one of them. But the fact that this car was comfortably moving at this hour of the day, laden with explosives, went unmissed. I beg your pardon.
Well, you know, Suesha, as I talk about this, as a Delhiite who probably visits the Connaught Place every second day, it's very difficult to sink in that this is the road that was used by that terrorist before he went to Red Fort, where he detonated that I-20 car. We're getting you that visual, establishing the outer circle of the Connaught Place region where that CCTV camera has been captured. This is the same stretch that we have on that CCTV where Umarun Nabi can be seen moving with his I-20 car unfazed. The reason we say unfazed, because we also have a glimpse of him where he's walking freely at that masjid at Turkman Gate. No amount of fear fear on his face. This man was absconding. Even after that, he could move his car from the poshest of location of the national capital. Connaught Place is the heart of Delhi. From here, he was driving unfazed in the afternoon. Once again, I'll ask my cameraman to pan the location. Ankit, if you can show this exact place from where that CCTV was captured. This is the man, Umarun Nabi, the terrorist who killed 12 innocent lives detonating an I-20 car, was seen moving at that Connaught Place juncture where I'm standing right now. And then he moved to the Turkman Gate Masjid, Faiz-e-Ilahi Masjid, where we are suspecting that he offered the namaz. That CCTV is even scary because he has no amount of fear on his face. He prays over there for 10-15 minutes. But before that, Suesha, we are also learning that in and around Connaught Place, he's waited for 15 minutes. Where did he go? That is also something that the Delhi police is right now understanding. They are piecing together the CCTV mapping of the Connaught Place region as well, because we are being told that even in Connaught Place, in the vicinity of this area, poshest of location of the national capital, he did spend 15 minutes. Did he meet anyone? Why did he stop for 15 minutes? We will also have that answer very shortly. But this is something which is a big scare factor for the citizens of the national capital.
Oh yes, absolutely. Shreya, thank you for getting us the latest there as we continue to put out all the latest leads coming in, the investigation intensifying, and most importantly, trying to map where all bomber Umar had gone, which all areas with that I-20. So let's now take you through this map of Delhi, and that is the car, that is the I-20 that Dr. Umar, or Bomber Umar, if I could say that, was driving that car. Now, he was in Faridabad in the Al-Falaha University. He left from there, after which he went to Mewat. Now, he actually reached Firozpur Jhirka via Mewat, and that's where the car finally reached. Now, remember, during all of this, what was happening was that his key accomplice, Muzammil, had been caught by the cops, and a huge amount of explosives that they were in possession of had also been recovered by the cops. Post which, Umar spent the night at a dhaba on the Delhi-Mumbai Expressway. Now, he was probably mulling various options of where he could go, whether he would flee or come back and action a plan that they may have been working on. Umar spent the entire night sleeping in the car at that time, after which he changed his mind. He moved back to Delhi, rather towards Faridabad, via the Delhi-Mumbai highway. So the car went back, it went all the way to Firozpur Jhirka and then went all the way back to Faridabad via the Delhi-Mumbai highway. Now, Umar entered Delhi through the Badarpur border, and then of course we've told you what happened after that, where the car went, of the window between 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. when the car was in the parking, after which he finally took it out near Red Fort is when the attack happened. Now, DNA tests have confirmed that Dr. Umar was the bomber. The latest CCTV image obtained of terrorist Umar that shows his presence at that mosque in Old Delhi, that was at around 2:30 p.m. and he stayed there for over 10 minutes. He was captured entering and then leaving the mosque. Meanwhile, security agencies have recovered the diaries of Dr. Umar and Dr. Muzammil. Sources said that plot had been underway for the past 2 years. The diary was seized from Dr. Umar's room number 4 and Muzammil's room number 13 at the Al-Falaha University campus, building number 17, like we had shown you. Room number 13, building number 17, which was the secret meeting place for all these terrorists. These terrorists who plotted the attack from that room, it was the same room where the decision of transportation of certain chemicals was also taken. The forensic team has recovered chemicals and digital data from the same room, and India Today has also decoded Delhi Blast terror web. Now, sources have informed India Today that Umar was in touch with a handler, Ukasa. Ukasa was the code name, and this handler was actually based in Turkey's Ankara. The terrorists used Session app to interact with the handler because it is again an encrypted app.
What was Dr. Umar doing before he actually perpetrated that attack and explosion near the Red Gate?
Now, the investigations are pointing out to the fact that he visited a masjid in Old Delhi at around 2:30 p.m. before he actually orchestrated this attack. I am outside this very masjid right now. This happens to be at Turkman Gate, just about few meters from Turkman Gate, but on the road way to Red Fort. And he stepped inside the masjid, was here for about 10 minutes, is what the CCTV footages and grabs of these images have shown in the investigation that is being carried out by the Delhi police, the NIA and other agencies. He came here near the Turkman Gate. Let me show you that the road leading to the Red Fort goes from here straight off, and this is a very crowded area as well in the Turkman Gate region, and right in front of it is this particular masjid that has been situated here. And of course, Dr. Umar is also known as one of the most radicalized people in the gang. In fact, he cut off all contacts with others after he found out that Dr. Muzammil from Al Falah University was arrested and the Faridabad module was busted. The fact that the Red Eco Sport was purchased by Dr. Umar, and he was the one who was coordinating and talking to a handler in Turkey. All these details have come forward in Dr. Umar's investigation, and after a DNA test, it has also been ascertained that the person who died within the I-20 car was Dr. Umar. Indeed, his bones had melted because of the impact of the blast and the fusion and the kind of heat it generated. With Lokendra Pandey, Milan Sharma for India Today.
So there you see how more and more information coming in to be able to piece together what had happened on that day, what had happened on the previous day, and why the panic had struck. Because his key aides who were getting caught, he somewhere realized and understood that soon would be his turn, and it was not very far that the cops would get to him also. And that is when Dr. Umar, driving that I-20 across the various locations like we've told. Very good morning once again, and thank you for staying tuned to India Today. I'm Suesha Sawant as we continue to get you more breaking news coming in with the investigation intensifying in the Delhi blast. Delhi police is now hunting for a third car as part of the terror module. Now this car is a Brezza that is still missing. Delhi police is searching for the third car, which is a Brezza, and that search is underway. An explosion that had occurred in a car, one of Umar's cars, that was missing, and the search is on for the one that was found in Faridabad. Now the search is on for the third car. There was a plot to detonate a car bomb. There was a module, but the module was exposed before it could be carried out. Ultimately, Umar succeeded in carrying out the blast. So there was not one, not two, but three cars that are now in the radar. I-20, of course, the original car, the visual of which is on the right of your screens, the one that exploded in the blast, and the one on your left, the Red Eco Sport, where Dr. Umar had given a fake address to have the car register in his name, and he gave the address of a house in northeast Delhi. But that car that has also been taken into custody, it is now in the possession of the police because it had explosives, and this was being used to transport explosives. However, as the investigation now moves a step further, there is a third picture, I beg your pardon, a third angle that is being looked into in terms of the number of cars being used. This is a Brezza that was also used by the terrorists. Let me cut across to Shreya Chatterjee joining us on the phone line with details on this third car, which is allegedly a Brezza that the police is now looking for. Shreya.
Well, yes, this is another car which is linked to Umarun Nabi, the terrorist that blew up the I-20 car. Two cars have already been accounted for. One was which was used in the blast. The second was the Eco Sport that was found parked in that Faridabad farmhouse. Now, this is a Maruti Brezza that the hunt is right now on for. This information was there about a Maruti Brezza car, and what we do know that the Delhi police along with the Haryana and UP police are on alert mode.
That car could also be parked somewhere in Faridabad or was moving around there. CCTV footage that is being examined. Do give us details of how the police is now trying to search for this third car.
Well, absolutely. And this third car, why it's important? Because, Shivesha, these are all linked to the terror suspects, and this becomes object of suspicion right now, like the red EcoSport car, because there are information that we have that these cars were used for accumulating and stockpiling the ammonium nitrate that were recovered by the police, and also the fear that probably there was a plan to use multiple cars to devise into IEDs and carry out serial blasts, is why these cars become extremely crucial and object of suspicion. Third, what if there are other members of the module who are still on the run, who probably could have been seen in these cars, is why these cars need to be identified at the earliest. Fortunately, 2 have been accounted for, but 1 Brezza is right now still being searched for, and 3 state polices are on alert mode looking for that car. 1, the Delhi police, along with them, the UP and the Haryana police are also on constant mode looking for those cars, is what we've been told.
Shreya, have we been able to get more details on that car in terms of what color it was, what the number plate was, where all that car had moved around? And again, like Dr. Umar had used a fake address to have the red car register in his name. Any more details with regards to this particular Brezza?
Well, some information, Suresha, regarding this car is yet to trickle down, but we've at least been confirmed by the police that this is a Maruti Brezza car. The color of it obviously must be something that we will get some information shortly, but sometimes information are also hold in delay when an operation is under its way. But probably...
So another doctor, another link that has emerged to bomber Umar. The ATS has detained bomber Umar's classmate. His name is Mohammad Arif. Mohammad Arif had spoken to Umar days before the blast. ATS, STF and Delhi Police's special cell that have detained Dr. Mohammad Arif Mir, a first-year student at Kanpur's Institute of Cardiology. In fact, I correct myself there. This is Delhi's special team that has detained Dr. Mohammad Arif Mir. Sources reveal that Dr. Arif was a classmate of terrorist Umar. Both of them studied together at a medical college in Srinagar. Just days before the Red Fort blast in Delhi, Arif had reportedly spoken to Dr. Umar. Delhi Police's special team that has now taken Dr. Arif to Delhi for interrogation, this according to sources. Exactly the point, Shreya, that Faridabad Chawla to get the place where these terrorists had spread their tentacles, had spoken to Dr. Umar. If there are any places where they knew that their respective cars would be safe. The I-20 that was parked at Al Falah University for 11 days. The red EcoSport again that was seized at a farmhouse in Reconnect with Simar. There may be a technical snag locations that are on the hunt as far as the cops are concerned of where all Mohammad Arif terrorists a first-year student at Campus Institute of Cardiology, a doctor with them as part of this plan and were helping them, Dr. Umar, both of them studied together at the medical college in Srinagar. And it is now alleged that just days before the Red Fort blast in Delhi, Arif had reportedly spoken to Umar. Now, whether he was also an accomplice or whether it was a conversation that was not related to any of this is something that the police is trying to get to the bottom of, and for that very reason that they've taken him, I beg your pardon, to Delhi for interrogation. Simar Chawla is back with us with further details on Dr. Arif. Over to you.
NKP fertilizers.
That's a big, information that has come to the fore. Dr. Arif, who are being detained by several agencies, it's a joint operation was with the UP ATS, the Delhi special team, the STF. They detained him yesterday from his house, and they have what we are learning from our sources that he is being taken to Delhi right now. The questioning will be on the line length that how come there was a communication between him and Umar. What we have been told by agencies that there was an information that Dr. Arif was in fact the batchmate of Umar. who was killed in the blast, he was the one, who had several chats with him just days before this very particular, terror attack that has happened. Now, right now, I'm
But
presently
shocking to
standing
even
at the
imagine, Shreya,
residence
how these
of
cars were
Dr.
going
Arif, and you
unnoticed,
can,
because it was
I'll
not
request my
one.
camera person to
The
show you the
second one
visuals.
that
There's
came
a
into the
police
picture,
team
the
right
third
now
one that is now
just
coming to the
outside his
picture,
house where
probably more
Dr.
that
Arif
could
was
be
living. They have come to,
that
in
are
fact,
also
interrogate
in
the
the
owner
radar
of this
of
very particular house, who
suspect. How
says
these
that it was
cars were
only
being
3 months back
acquired or bought
Muhammad
or
Arif
registered or
came to this
coming
very
into the
particular house.
possession
The police is
of
in fact
these
questioning the
terrorists, how they
landlord.
were managing
They're
the
asking his
paperwork.
whereabouts,
These
that
cars,
what was his
at least the two that
behavior
have come to light
till
so
how
far,
long
were
was he living
laden
in
with
this very particular
explosives.
area,
How
what
is
story did
it
he tell about the
that
family.
they were
So these
missing
are the kind of
the eye
interrogations
of
that has in
the
fact started.
investigators time and again?
Well, while we talk about these cars, once again,
Fluctuating there, and we'll try and get a clearer line with Simar, who's getting us live information as the cops are standing right outside the landlord's house, trying to inquire about Dr. Arif. Now, initial details coming in of how Dr. Arif had moved in only 3 months ago, and he was living at that house where the cops are to pick up Dr. Arif. They're trying to check with the landlord on details, whether there was any suspicion of sorts, whether he was up to any activity that came to the notice of people, and most importantly, Dr. Arif, who will now be brought to Delhi to interrogate him on what his connection was with getting details there of a third car that is now being traced by the police. Shreya, quickly to understand once again before we let you go,
latest
that
details coming in,
Home Minister Amit Shah is holding a high-level meeting by the Delhi officials and Home Ministry officials are attending this meeting. We got you details of the CCS meeting that had happened last evening at 5:30 p.m. that was chaired by Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Soon after, he had also met Union Home Minister Amit Shah and NSA Ajit Doval, and now this is the latest
Well,
that
yes,
is coming in.
5 teams of the
Home Minister
UP
Amit Shah,
police,
who's holding
the
this
Haryana police
high-level
and the
meeting.
Delhi police, because right
And
now what we
remember,
see,
as part of
Suresha,
this meeting, also
is an
intelligence
interstate
officials
police
and Home
coordination.
Ministry officials
These
were
people
all
were
attending
largely
that
stationed
meeting.
in Faridabad,
Not
but
just a
they were
review
moving
of
in
the
several
security
vicinities
situation, but
to
also
acquire the
fast-paced
ammonium
investigation
nitrate that was
been
required, because
on,
let's just break down that
multi-agency
ammonium
probe
nitrate
that has
cannot
been
be sold
underway,
in loose amount
especially
in
the
this
speed at
huge
which the
amount.
agencies have been working
Ideally,
post
if
the
you want to
blast,
buy in a lesser
and
quantity,
many
anything
leads
below
that have
5
come to
kgs,
light so
you would
far.
need a license that you're a
Piecing together
farmer,
all
and
the
that's the reason you need the
dots
fertilizers,
and unraveling
etc.
the larger
So clearly
plot
there was a middleman
has
who was
been the
helping them,
focus,
but
as the
to
resolve
accumulate
of the government has been
2,900
very
kilos
clear.
of
Prime Minister
ammonium
Narendra Modi
nitrate is a
saying it is
big
as
task,
many
and
works
clearly
that
teams
the
were divided
perpetrators
and they were
will
doing
not
it
be
for quite
spared.
some time, and
Those who
the
are
fact that they managed to do
responsible
it
for this terror
discreetly,
attack
that
will
is
be
something which is
brought
very
to
shocking on the
justice.
part of the
Remember,
investigators,
the
is why
Delhi
we see
blast
that
has
these
been
amount of teams are
ascertained
now being found
as
to also
a
track
terror
down
attack.
the source of
And
these
now, crucial decisions
ammonium nitrate,
that
because
are
locally,
being taken.
if
Let
so
me go
easily
across to
we
Piyush
see
Mishra to
explosive
get further
materials
details
being
on
made
this
available,
particular meeting
that
that
becomes
is
a
being
huge
chaired by
concern.
Union Home Minister
So even the
Amit Shah,
ones
part
who
of
help them
this meeting,
procure
also
this
intelligence
ammonium
officials
nitrate,
and
they
Home
need to
Ministry
be
officials.
brought to
Piyush.
task, is why we see those multiple teams being formed, to trace the cars, to trace any members missing in the module, and also to trace back the ones who sold this car. And before I go on anything else, Suesha, I want to establish this location, because for every regular Delhiite, this Connaught Place is something that they pass from. This is the heart of the national capital, and at this very stretch, a short while ago, we were showing that CCTV footage, that same CCTV footage of Umarun Nabi was tracked from this very location.
Has been personally monitoring each and everything. He went to the hospital also, and then also they're at the spot, and he has been holding a series of meetings. Yesterday also, he held 2 meetings, first in the morning at around 11 a.m. and then at 3 p.m. And as we are speaking, another big meeting is being chaired by Mr. Amit Shah to take feedback, to take the update on what is the latest status of the investigation which has been carried out by various agencies. You would also remember that NIA has taken over this entire case, and FIR has already been filed under Explosives and the UAPA Act. Few people have also been detained, many have been arrested. So this shows as to how the investigative agencies are now putting their best to ensure that proper justice is meted out to the perpetrators. Proper actions are taken in this entire case. We have to wait and watch how much time the NIA is now going to take as far as investigating this entire matter is concerned. But as we are speaking,
Home Minister Amit Shah is now holding a very important meeting in which top officials from various agencies are present.
All right, Piyush, many thanks for getting us the latest. Yes, Doctors of Terror plot that is unraveling bit by bit. The probe has taken a new turn as agencies are now focusing on how Dr. Shaheen Shahid, once a brilliant medical topper from Uttar Pradesh, came into contact with several Kashmiri students over the last decade. Dr. Shaheen Siddiqui was married to Dr. Jafar Hayat and got divorced in 2015. After this, Shaheen became reclusive and distanced herself from her family. Shaheen played a crucial role in bridging terror operatives and established logistical networks in Haryana and Delhi. She then became the top commander of Jaish-e-Mohammed's women's wing. It was in the same year, 2015, when Dr. Shaheen had contacted Dr. Muzammil, a Pulwama-based doctor who introduced Shaheen to Kashmiri students. After this, Shaheen came in contact with Kashmiri students over the last decade. Now, according to UP-ATS, Shaheen met with several suspects, including those who had visited Ayodhya Ram Temple. Investigative agencies are probing who she met there, where she stayed and who she visited in Ayodhya. Jammu and Kashmir police have been informed by intelligence about her visit to Lucknow. Neighbours of Dr. Shaheen and her brother, Dr. Parvez, are also being questioned again. UP-ATS has also detained Dr. Mohammad Arif, a cardiology student from Jammu and Kashmir, from Kanpur's Cardiology Institute in connection with the Delhi blast case. Arif was reportedly in constant touch with Dr. Shaheen. Another doctor from Kashmir, Dr. Nisar ul Hassan, who was earlier dismissed for anti-national activities, has also gone missing after the Red Fort blast. He was working as a professor of general medicine at the Al Falaha hospital and is said to be the alleged attack plotter. The web of doctors, and most importantly, the white-collar terror ecosystem that is unraveling bit by bit, where doctors were now enrolled by the JEM, and the meeting that had happened in Turkey, after which a full plan was fleshed out to how the network will expand, and Faridabad was chosen as the hub. These doctors, some of them working in Kashmir, and a connection of the Al Falaha University that has most come to fore of how these doctors were coordinating with each other, were slowly building their network, contacting one another. And in fact, it is said that Al Falaha University had slowly turned into a mini Kashmir because of the amount of Kashmiri doctors who had been employed there. Now, while the focus is on the university and the link between these doctors who are residing in Kashmir, and then the Faridabad link, of course, the trace that is being drawn, and more doctors are being picked up. Dr. Arif, who was in touch with Dr. Shaheen, and also Bomber Umar, because he was a classmate of his. Now, he is being picked up. He will be brought to Delhi for interrogation. The other doctor, who remember is now missing, he actually hails from Kashmir. His name is Dr. Nisar ul Hassan, and he was dismissed for anti-national activities, has now gone missing ever since the Red Fort blast has happened. Let me also take this to Shreya to understand that the web of doctors, or the nexus of doctors, and how this entire plot was being planned with the help of doctors, is now slowly unraveling. Of the 7 doctors who have already been identified and many of them detained, more names getting added to it. Dr. Arif and Dr. Hassan. Shreya.
Well, the reason, Suesha, this becomes an extreme matter of concern, because if we can just highlight for our viewers, remember that in 2011 also, when that Delhi High Court blast took place at gate number 5, the case, when it unraveled, pointed out to one doctor even at that point of time. Now, that was a different module, that was the Indian Mujahideen, but now with the Jaish-e-Mohammed also plotting on white-collar terror people linked to doctors, clearly we see a sort of a return of what we have seen in the past, but this time even more sinister, even more closely knitted, and even more larger in the kind of conspiracy that was being hatched in the first place. Not just that, the reason for a doctor being used, because these are people who also have a lot of respect in our society. So probably people can go unfazed. Terrorists are usually people who moonlight something in the morning, and then their main task is obviously to plot and spread terror. But these doctors were also misusing their identities, their credentials to gather some materials required for making those explosives is also what investigators are telling to India today. The fact that they were terror conspirator facilitators. These are the exact words that one of the senior officials interrogating and investigating this case has told me, that they are terror facilitators, in fact. So clearly, larger investigation will now go into how doctors are being recruited, whether these people are initially self-radicalized, then they move on through different channels, because as we talk, Suvisha, it'll be scary to believe, but there are WhatsApp open channels that also operate of the groups like Jaish-e-Mohammed, etc., because that is the kind of security encryption that is not sometimes taken into condition when India is concerned. So clearly, lot of issues that our agencies also have to manage with while they investigate such terror modules, but scary situation on the ground. These are people possibly homegrown. That's the reason it makes even more difficult to trace and arrest them, because the cases also become sensitive when we see such modules are cracked down.
Very rightly pointed out, Shreya, and the suspicion is the least when it comes to doctors, YouTubers, of the kind of targets they are now picking up to be able to carry out such a plot is horrifying. Shreya, thank you for joining us with the very latest. Yes, India's counter-terror machinery that has struck a major blow to terror networks, rattling groups from Jaish-e-Mohammed to the ISIS. Authorities say these modules were planning not just conventional attacks, but also chemical terror plots involving ricin, a deadly, odorless, tasteless toxin with no antidote. Even tiny amounts can be fatal, making it one of the most dangerous substances known to mankind. The 3 arrests of Gujarat highlight both the evolving nature of terror threats in India